Hey guys, welcome back to an Insomniac's Insight. This is going to be my third episode. Today, I'm not going to continue off the topic that we were talking about last time, with my experiences and my beliefs and stuff like that about paranormal stuff like ghosts. Today, I actually wanted to talk about something that was kind of just lingering around in my mind, earlier during the day. And something that I guess I haven't touched upon yet, but I haven't touched upon a lot of things because it's barely my third episode. But anyway, would have to be aliens and things of that nature. Other life forms, living out in space. Not necessarily just the typical alien grays or greens where there's the little green men who come down in ships and abduct people and stuff like that. Of course, that's what typically everybody thinks of whenever we hear the word alien. But to be honest, I feel like there's a lot of more ground to it other than just those types of aliens, quote unquote. So I guess the first thing to start off would be if I actually believe that there are other forms of life out there other than just what we know of as ourselves being on this planet. And honestly, I'd have to say yes. I feel like that's a big question, or a big understatement to say that there cannot be any other form of life out there. It's almost impossible to consider the fact that literally we are the only form of life in the entire, I guess you could say, realm of existence that we know of. I feel like just because we don't see it doesn't mean it isn't there. Think about how you can't literally see the air, but you know it's there. There's just things that you cannot physically see, you cannot physically wrap your mind around, but somehow you know it's true and you know it's there, because it's impossible for you to believe otherwise. Now I know everybody has their own varying opinions, what they might have or might have not seen, what they do or don't believe, and that's fine. I'm not trying to convince you otherwise that there has to be life out there. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. It's just that in my own opinion, in my own realm of thought, what I've come accustomed to understanding and perceiving as to how, everything works as a whole, is that it's almost irrational for me to believe that there can't be life anywhere else other than here. There's just so many examples of how life has existed here and in so many different forms, that if it weren't possible to exist anywhere else, we wouldn't have as many life forms as we do have here. Just think about the things that we have not discovered on our planet yet. On our planet alone, literally, like in the oceans, more than 70% of it is not explored by us. And there's so many factors that play into that as to, lack of technological advancements or just incapabilities to understand what's really down there. But just think of that, we don't fully know what's on our own planet yet, so then how can we for sure say that there's nothing living outside of our realm of existence, out of our own planetary capabilities, just because the things that we have closest to us that we're not been able to observe yet, such as like Mars and whatnot, does not mean that it accounts for everything else in existence. We might say that conditions are not correct to live on other planets based on our conditions, but then again, there's places here on Earth where life shouldn't exist, and it does. In the deepest depths of the ocean, where it's colder than anything you could probably imagine, life still exists down there. Or next to the hottest parts of our planet, there are still ways for life to exist. So I feel that there is always a way for life to find its way. There's no shortage of possibilities, whether it be through years and years and years, or even centuries of evolution and development, or whether it was just always accustomed to being that way. I feel like there is going to be a possibility that something can exist somewhere. It's not impossible. I don't think that there's many things in life that are impossible. But I feel like maybe it just takes time. I feel like the most important thing for anything to be done is time. Time is one of the most valuable things, and it is one of the only things that will continue to exist even when nothing else exists. So just because we might not experience it in our lifetime, or just because we might not think of it possible in our lifetime, one day certain things will come to fruition. Things will work the way they are meant to work. Things will be solved. Things will be seen. Things will become the way they are meant to become. And whether we believe it or not, it's just how life is. It's how life works. And it's a very, very big misconception that people, unfortunately, don't look past. People think as things are going to be the way they are now and don't expect change to really occur. But it's occurring all the time, which is what makes life the way it is. Change is constant. Even something so small, something so, I guess, insignificant to you, it's occurring all the time. Every single day, every single moment, every single second. There's no shortage of change. So that's why I feel that with the way things change all the time, there's always a greater possibility that, outside of our world, there is a chance for life to exist. And because of that, I don't think that it's necessarily going to be bad. I guess just because of our, I wouldn't say imaginations. I'd say more of our fear of not knowing what's out there. We kind of construct things that we are meant to be afraid of. It does come from an imagination per se, but it's not based off of a happy imagination as like you have as a child, kind of where you are interested in something, and because of that you imagine yourself going through that, playing cops and robbers, becoming a superhero, or having an imaginary friend, things that in a way kind of benefit you. When it's something that you are afraid of and you don't understand, that's when your fear or your uncertainty kind of takes over and constructs something that you have to rationalize and make sense of, even though it may be irrational itself. Just think of how people are scared of the dark. I'm pretty sure maybe some of you at one point were scared of the dark, and it's not necessarily that you hated the darkness itself. It was more or less that you just hated not knowing what was in the dark. You're scared. You were scared of what could be in the darkness, what's lingering there, what kind of horrible thing is out to get me, and I can do nothing about it because I can't see it. And that's kind of the same thing that plays into space, and plays into quote unquote aliens. People just have a feeling they're out there, and because they don't know what they are, they don't know what they can do. They don't know where they're at, what they have, what they're capable of, what they believe, what they would do. Would they become friends with us? Would they try to enslave us? Would they try to hate us and eradicate us? So many unanswered questions, so many unknowns, so many possibilities, and because of that, people just rather construct something that they rationalize their fear into. They personify that fear into something they can visually see in their mind and kind of understand that they need to be afraid of it. That's why you see some people just having these plain-faced aliens that are, I guess, unnatural to what we've come accustomed to as to seeing people on a daily basis. It's so simple, the designs, the elongated heads, the long, thin black eyes, little small slits for mouths, elongated limbs, pale gray skin or pale greenish type skin with bulbous fingers and toes. Just something so simple that a child could draw, but yet people are severely afraid of it from time to time. But it's because you personify that into something that you don't understand and that you're not accustomed to, and therefore it attributes fear to it. And then again, you have the people who have the overly grotesque looking aliens, the ones with the rows of teeth and numerous amounts of eyes, bulging eyes, claws for hands, tails, and all that good stuff. Just something out of a Predator or Alien type movie. And then again, that gives you something even more a reason to be afraid of. But either way, the whole point of it is that it attributes to some kind of emotion, and that's primarily fear. Which is why I feel like people are just afraid of what they do not know or what they do not understand. We as people hate being out of control. We hate not being able to see, look at something, understand what it is, and then go about our way because we're okay with it. When you have somebody who can control something for you, that's also a level of comfort. But seeing as that nobody here has any sort of control, whether there is life or not life beyond what our realm is, it frustrates a lot of people, and it gives people a lot of room to think and theorize and conspirize as to either it's being hidden, it's not real, or that it's being covered up. Whatever the case may be, people just want an explanation for it. That's why there's so many instances where people try to explain the unexplained, and nobody wants to believe them. I personally haven't ever had any quote unquote extraterrestrial experiences, from what I can recount on. I feel like everybody's seen the typical UFO, but then again, a UFO is not necessarily an alien ship. It is literally just something in the sky that you cannot identify what it is. Whether it could be something that is just completely normal and natural and it just looks odd to you in that particular moment, or it literally is an alien ship. That's what it could be. It could be something as a shooting star that just doesn't have a tail, or a comet that you were not notified about by NASA that was supposed to fly over that at that particular time, and or a plane, or a bird, or now we have all those damn drones flying everywhere that could fool the hell out of people. So anything like that could honestly be mistaken for a UFO, not just because it is actually a alien spacecraft. There's just things that can happen, and I feel like people have seen those on all sorts of occasions, and everybody's quick to jump to, it's aliens, but that's not necessarily always the case, But saying that, I guess a reason why I believe that aliens exist is because, one, I find it kind of hard to believe that we're the only ones capable of living, and two, I feel that almost everything, for the most part, has a sort of pattern to it that allows certain things to exist in a certain way. I feel like variables can only be put together. I'm sorry that this sounds like math, and that's kind of unintentional, but certain variables can only put into place that allow things to exist a certain way every time, before they begin to replicate. That's why cars are mass produced in similar styles and just varying colors, or or similar colors but varying styles. You don't see somebody coming out with a brand new color or a brand new model. It kind of gets tweaked here and there, but it's almost similar to the key. And that's kind of the same thing for a lot of things. Clothes are made similar but with different variations here and there before they'll have to repeat. Kind of how like animals and stuff like that, they'll have to repeat. Just look at how we're able to have children and have twins or quadruplets or triplets or quintuplets. Things have a possibility to repeat. So I feel like all the variables in the universe that allow different planets to exist, different stars to coexist, different solar systems to exist, eventually there will be one time where it will replicate and have an exact copy of our solar system, to the key: the sun, the Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. I know Pluto is not considered a planet, but I grew up with that, so to me it's gonna be a little planet. Besides that, it'll always be the possibility that this exact existence as we know it in our solar system could be replicated, and has possibly already been replicated, but that the conditions on it to live may not be exactly the same, and therefore it'll cause the life that is able to live on that planet to look somewhat different than what we know as life itself. And then in times whenever it makes its advancement, maybe progresses further than we do, or at a quicker rate than we did as an existence, could allow them to travel and find us. Just as the same thing that people believe that there are parallel universes and whatnot, or parallel existences, that's always a possibility too, and that could be what we see as aliens as well. And we just assume, unfortunately, we just assume that maybe they don't look like us. I feel like there's always possibilities for aliens to look any type of way, and not just the way that is portrayed in media. How there's always the whole theories from people on like the History Channel and whatnot, where they believe that, they're living among us because they have the ability to cloak themselves and take on the forms that we come accustomed to. But what if they're not taking on those forms? What if they are those forms and we just don't see them any different because nothing about them is different to us? The only thing that is different and that they know is that they came from somewhere else, and we just don't know it, and we cannot tell it. I think that's a big misconception as well, is that people assume they'll automatically be able to tell when something is out of place, when in reality, people have a hard time telling when things are out of place. People forget things all the time. People misread things all the time. People misunderstand things all the time. It doesn't matter who you are, or how smart you are, how knowledgeable you may be. I feel like in one point in everybody's life, they have misunderstood something, whether it be by reading, writing, doing math, just anything. You'll misunderstand something. You won't be able to get everything right every single time in your life. Everybody makes mistakes. So I feel like that's why we feel that we'd be able to understand, we'd be able to know, we'd be able to say that's an alien. But I don't think if it came down to it, we might not be able to. If it's under circumstances where they exist similar to we do, we would never know. Right now, you could be friends with somebody who is one. You could be one yourself and not even know it. There's all kinds of possibilities that they are here already and we don't know it. Some people believe that it has to do with our animals. That could also be a possibility. Just something that's foreign to us as a whole could be the reason why they are here. We just believe that it's something that isn't us. But then again, you would never know if it happened before your time and you've just become accustomed to it. Like I said, change is persistent. Change happens all the time. And things changed before you existed, and things will continue to change after you exist. So therefore you will never ever fully know when or why or how it happens, unless you experience it in front of your eyes. There's a good chance that you may never know. You could have been friends with one all your life and never known. You could have met one really quick on an occasion, walking down the street, like just a person that walked by you. Never would have known, because that's just because it's what you've come accustomed to. But I guess that's just the big thing, is that I feel like it has a a really good chance of existing, extraterrestrial life. But that it just might be based upon our misconceptions as a society, that we do not perceive them, and we may not understand that they could already be existing with us, as how we are and how we have become. But if you're looking for those other types of aliens, like I said, the grays, the greens, the predators and aliens type thing, I don't think it's impossible for them to exist either. Like I said, every life form adapts to where it is at. Like, we can have people who live in the coldest regions. We can have things that live in the hottest regions. But when they do exist in those certain areas, they have to adapt. Just like certain animals that we have on our planet, thick fur, very thin fur, shell-like armor that they have on the outside, exoskeletons, the ability to stick to walls, the ability to breathe both on water and in land. So it's just a big possibility that something like that could exist, because they'd have to adapt to where they live. Like if there was life to be living right now on Saturn or Jupiter, which are almost completely filled with toxic gases. I'm pretty sure if the conditions were right for life to live there, it would have to adapt to living to that, and then it end up looking completely different than we do as humans, who walk on 2 feet, have 2 arms, a head, and a body that we find normal. And yet they could be missing something completely, have extra of something else, or not even have a mouth and eyes or a nose. Who knows? That's where your imagination comes into play. In a good way, I guess. You can kind of guess what they'd look like instead of being afraid of what they could look like. I know I've drawn before of what I would think some would look like, and they come out ridiculous, or some of them come out like little children drawings. But it's kind of fun to speculate, kind of fun to wonder. Let your mind wonder what you think. I feel like everybody has the conception of what an alien is supposed to look like based off of media, but I feel like a lot of people haven't taken the time to actually sit down and attempt to draw what you think an alien would look like. Your own personal perception. If you were to take out the whole media's perspective, what would you draw? What would you think an alien would look like, as one that came from somewhere completely composed of ice, or somewhere that is completely composed of gas, or like a lava type-esque thing, what does it look like in your mind? I feel like some people would draw something close to a human, others would draw something close to something out of a horror movie, others would draw something out of a kid's movie. You think of the movie Home, where they look like little squids. It's a very good kids movie. But they look like little squids who can change colors all the time. And what if that's what an alien ends up looking like when it comes to our planet? And then you have movies, like I said, Alien and Predator, where they look terrifying beyond belief. Just something that you can tell is out to kill you. You never know. You never know what they could look like. You never know what they could be. But I guess the whole thing about aliens and the whole thing about space itself is that it gives you something more to look forward to, and not look forward to, I guess, per se. I guess I mean more look at yourself and look at what you have around you and understand that you have something to appreciate. Being here is a very, very real, or I guess surreal feeling. Being able to exist in this current time, being able to exist at all, you're very lucky. There's a great chance that this could have never happened. And I feel like a lot of people take that for granted. Unfortunately, people just think existence is what it is and that's all it's going to be. But there's more than a literally 99.9999999% chance that you could not have existed. And everything just worked the way it was meant to work. The conditions were right. Everything was just right, leading up to your creation, that you were able to exist. Something could have gone wrong. Something could have never happened. Life itself could have never happened, but it did. So that's why I feel like you shouldn't just write off the fact that other things can exist, because if you think about it in that terms, then we shouldn't exist either. There should be almost no reason other than pure luck that we exist. And that's something that people just don't think about. People just accept life for what it is. But sometimes, you got to understand that there's more to it. That doesn't mean you have to dread on it. You don't have to consistently think about it, wonder about it. And I know thinking about the bigger picture sometimes makes people be depressed about it. It gets them feeling low, like there's nothing to be happy about. But in reality, you have everything to be grateful for. That's the beauty of life. You may be so small, you may be such a very, very, very minimal role in what it means to be alive and what it means to have an existence in reference to the grander scheme of the universe and space itself. But because of that, you should be thankful, because if you have such a small part in something so grand, you have a reason to be here. Everybody has a reason to be here, whether it's just to enjoy life itself or to make a difference in life as a whole. Everyone has a reason. There's no shortage of reasons for a person to be here. It might be that you do one thing for one person, just a simple helping hand, just a simple smile that you can put on somebody else's face. I'm pretty sure you guys have friends or family or acquaintances, whatever you want to call them, that you've come across and they've had a shit day, and one thing that you said or the one moment you took the time to listen to them, you made a huge difference in their life. And that's something that wouldn't have happened if you weren't here. So I don't feel like everybody feels the need or should feel the need that they have to become something great. They have to be the one who cures cancer. They have to be the one who travels to Mars, or the first person to land on the sun, or the first person to discover interdimensional travel, or all eternal youth. Those things are good and all, but I feel like sometimes the most important thing you can do is be able to be a kind and understanding and caring person who makes a difference in somebody else's life, whether it's somebody that you're close to or somebody you'll never meet again in your life, because it makes a difference for them. And that's what really matters, because you're helping somebody who has just as much importance as you. They were able to exist in the same time. They were able to exist the same way that you're able to. And because of that, you made a difference. And that's what you were meant to do. Everybody has a purpose for something. Like I said, whether it's to be a A1 baseball, basketball, football star, to make millions and to be happy doing that, or to become the person who is the one that all of their friends go to advice for, and you help them live better lives and become the person that they can always depend on, somebody they can always turn to for happiness and advice, because you're just that type of person. That's okay. You don't have to be everybody else. You have to be who you are. Use what you're given. Use who you are meant to be. Some people are great speakers. Some people are great listeners. Some people are good at working with their hands. Others are just meant to work behind computers. Everybody has their own uniqueness, so don't feel like you need to fit in with everybody else. Don't feel like you have to be as great as your coworkers or your aunt, your uncle, your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, as good as people who you see on television or hear on the radio. They're doing what they're meant to do, so you need to focus on you. You don't need to live up to their standards. Like I said, it's kind of hard enough to already go through life and dread on the fact that, once you realize how grand everything is, just think of how lucky you are. It's hard enough to go through life not knowing that you're lucky to be here in the first place. So don't forget that. Understand that you are important in your own regard, whether it be to somebody, someone, or something. You are important. You will always be important to that particular person. You know, everybody has their role for somebody. But that being said, you know, just enjoy what you do, enjoy what you have, and try to make the best of everything when you get the chance to do so. I know all of life isn't, you know, candy and rainbows, but you know, there's those moments that you'll be able to enjoy everything when you have the chance to enjoy things that mean something to you. You know, you'll go through hard times, you'll go through great times, and that's the point. You know, the point is that you experience, you understand, you learn, you live, you love, and you have a chance to say that you got to do things that made a difference for you, whether they were good or bad. You know, you'll have good things, you'll have bad things, like I said, but either way, you got to do it. You know, there's other possibilities that could have led to you not being able to have bad times, you know, but you got to have both. You know, that's like just why there's people who say, you know, you can't have the good without the bad, because that's true. If you didn't have bad things in your life, you wouldn't be able to appreciate the good things, and vice versa. You know, everything happens the way it's meant to happen, you know, because it gives you an overall experience. You know, if you were just experiencing good things in your life the whole time, eventually they devalue and they just become normal experiences to you. And same thing, if you had bad things all the time, eventually that would devalue and you wouldn't appreciate those, or not appreciate, but you wouldn't hate them as much either, because you'd become accustomed to it, you know. So I feel that just appreciating what you're given, whether if it's good or bad, it'll always work out, because you can't have one without the other. I'm pretty sure you have to have good things happen in your life at least a few times, and those few times are probably the best times. You know, I know I've had my fair share of overwhelmingly bad experiences, you know, but there's just things that have happened that have made my life a whole lot different for all the right reasons. You know, I've had a ton of bad experiences that will probably stick with me for a while, you know, but I look past them and understand that they might have happened, but they're not currently happening, and therefore they should not currently affect me. You know, of course, people have memories, you know. Some people do, some people don't. Some people are able to forget them. Some people are able to wash them out of their mind. And I feel like I've done that with certain things, you know. But the fact that it didn't happen, you know, you have to accept that. And you have to accept the fact that you can move on from it, and accept the fact that something greater or something better will happen one day. One day things will change. One day things will become better. You know, I remember I was in a point where I thought things were just going to consistently continue to be bad. But yet here I am. I feel like my life has gotten substantially better. And I never thought that this would happen, you know. But it did. And I'm so happy to be where I am right now. You know, I'm able to be here talking through this podcast to you guys, to whoever's listening. You know, things just worked out the way they did to allow me to do this. And if they wouldn't have, then I wouldn't be here right now. You know, things could have gone a completely different way. But like I said, I guess just things happen for a reason. Maybe right now, like I said, we all have a purpose. Maybe anybody who's listening to this right now, who's probably going through a hard time, or has always thought that they don't matter as much, or that they have no reason to feel important to others. You know, they've been hurt, they've been mistreated, or whatever the case may be. You know, everybody's been through something. Maybe one of you guys listening is being, I wouldn't say motivated or uplifted or whatever, but maybe what I'm saying makes sense to you. You know, And that's the reason why you're listening to this, because you just needed somebody to tell you that it's going to be fine. And I hope that it does help. I hope that, what I've said kind of makes some sense. I know it's more or less just me rambling, but, I feel like maybe some people just need to hear it instead of trying to think about it themselves. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around, but sometimes just listening to it and understanding that things will be fine and that life will always go the way it's meant to go, but that not every bad thing lasts forever. Just as the same thing, not every good thing will, but that things will work out in the end. You'll find your way. You'll find your happiness. You'll find your key. And you'll find out what you were meant to do. So don't take every opportunity lightly. Enjoy it. Enjoy every chance you get to do something you want to do. And just understand that there's going to be bad experiences, but that there are also going to be some that are life-changing and wonderful. There's no shortage of both. And that's the point. You'll have both. It's not all going to be bad. But other than that, guys, like I said, hopefully this kind of podcast helped you out a bit. I know I started off talking about aliens and whatnot, and kind of ended up talking about life a bit and to how it should mean so much to some people, and it really doesn't. But I guess that's kind of the point of my podcast. I'm trying to just talk of whatever comes to my mind. I remember I said that in my episode 0, where I was kind of just giving you an overview of how this whole thing was going to work. I might start talking about one thing, and then if I switch to another, I'm sorry. But like I said, if you guys ever request something, I'll kind of do my best to stick to that topic. This was just something that kind of, came up, and I was kind of going as I went along. So that's why I kind of just rambled on and switched a bit. Either way, I'm happy to talk to you guys. I'm happy to let you guys listen to what I have to say if you want to do that. And if you'd rather stick to the whole more central topic style, I'd be happy to do that as well. I might throw in one like this every once in a while where I kind of just talk, and maybe you guys will like it, maybe you guys won't. But, sometimes I just like to talk. I feel like I have a lot to say, and therefore I'd rather say it aloud and let you guys know what's going through my mind. With that being said, if you have any kind of suggestions, or if you have anything you want to suggest towards me, sorry, I said suggestions twice. If you have anything you might want to hear from me, what you might want to hear me talk about, I'd be more than happy to do so. Like I said on the last episode, maybe I'll do another one where I continue talking about other personal paranormal experiences that I've had. Because I've also heard stories from, like I said, not only myself that I've had happen to me, but that I've heard from other people. And it's not just necessarily ghosts. I've also had people encounter things, or claim to encounter things that are of different types of nature. I've had not a friend, but a family friend who believes he encountered something along the lines of Bigfoot, and other ones who have encountered other types of, I guess you'd call those supernatural type, not let's show, like, don't get that twisted, sorry, but more of like things of animalistic type nature, things that we may not understand. So if you guys have any interest in that or anything upon that nature, let me know. I might end up starting some types of social media, maybe Twitter or something that you guys can reach out to me, so that way you won't have to feel so focused on only commenting on this podcast. It might make a difference to get myself out there and to let you guys who want to communicate with me and suggest topics that you may want to hear. So if you guys think that would be a good idea, you can comment on this podcast if you choose to do so. But alright guys, this one is another long one, I guess. Well, long to me, because I never ever intended my podcast to go above 15-20 minutes, but like I said, I just love to talk. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys liked what I had to say, and like I said, um, hopefully it may have made a difference to somebody. Who knows? But like I said, guys, comment on here, and if you guys have any suggestions, leave it down below. I really appreciate your support. No matter if it's just something so simple as saying, I guess anything would be enough. Just to know that you guys appreciate this, because I appreciate the support of the people following me. So it means a lot that you guys even feel enough to follow me in the first place, because this is something that I've wanted to do for a while. So I'm glad you guys are here. You can suggest it to whoever you want. I don't mind. But anything you guys feel to give me any kind of sort of advice or suggestions as to how this podcast could become better for you as listeners, I'd really appreciate it. That being said, you guys have an awesome day tomorrow, and I'll see you guys in the next podcast. Later.